Hey everyone, welcome back to the Rideshare Hub. I'm Jacob Letman. Before we get going with today's video, if you recently signed up to drive Uber in the United States, but you forgot to use a referral code when you signed up, or you didn't know that you could use a referral code, you can use a retroactive sign-up code to get a sign-up earnings guarantee of up to $1,000 when you start driving with Uber. It could be $100, $300, $500, $700, or $1,000, depending on what part of the United States you're signing up to drive in. But again, if you forgot to use a referral code, go down into the video description below. It's 8 simple steps to use a retroactive sign-up code, and you can get your earnings guarantee of up to $1,000 to start driving for Uber right now. Check it out. All right, you guys, welcome back to the Rideshare Hub. I'm Jacob Letman. So much craziness going on in the United States right now, in the world, really, with what's going on with this sickness spreading across the world. And in the U.S., there's so much going on. Okay, so here's the deal. Let me just get right to the point here. The deal is, right now, a lot of people are either out of work or they are at home because they are protecting themselves, trying not to get sick, trying to self-isolate, stay away from other people. We all know that this sickness, it spreads very quickly, and a lot of people are getting infected. I found out today that there are 500 and something cases here in Arizona, and only barely over 1,000 people have been tested. I thought that was crazy. We don't have the resources right now to do a lot of testing, so there's probably a lot of people out there walking around with this sickness, and it's just that there's a shortage of resources, and we know states like New York, Washington, California, they need resources, all the resources they can get, just because there's so many people infected, and it's spreading quickly. That aside, here's the deal. Here's what I want to talk to you guys about. Usually, I'm not one to pay too much attention to the news. I used to work in the news, fun fact, so I know a lot about all the ins and outs of it. I used to be a sports anchor, sports reporter for a news station in Montana. And anyway, news can be a real downer. But right now, more than ever, I find it incredibly important for each and every one of us that are rideshare drivers that are currently either out of a job because we choose not to put ourselves in a situation where we could potentially get sick, or if we are sick, where we could potentially spread it to others. However, a lot of rideshare workers like myself, probably a lot of you guys, need money, right? And so topic one, big deal that's going on is I just read an article. I think it was the New York Times. We'll put up some screenshots from the article we'll share the link to the article so you guys can see it. But there were drivers talking about how they're filing for unemployment. I think they give specific examples of drivers in both California and New York, and they're being blocked out, not having their requests granted. And the issue is that Uber and Lyft drivers were 1099 employees, but we're not the only, we have the gig economy. There's so many gig jobs out there now. All the food delivery apps, things like walking your dog Wag, for example. There's just tons of them, right? So we have this whole new part of the economy that's called the gig economy, and we're all independent contractors, and therefore we don't qualify as of now for unemployment benefits. And so this article talks about same thing a lot of you guys are going through, how drivers drove full-time, depended on their income and what they were making, and now they're driving just as much or more, and they're making way less. So nothing new there. We all understand that. We're all kind of in the same boat. The issue is we're getting towards the end of the month here. We've got bills coming up, rent, mortgage, credit card payments, student loans, etc. And some businesses are helping out by saying, hey, you can push back your payment at no fee, stuff like that, which is great. But we have other businesses that are like, well, here's our letter on what's going on in the world. Sucks to suck, your payment is still expected. So that's kind of the situation that a lot of Americans find themselves in, myself included. Actually, they started a petition at the apartment complex that I live in to protest our rent payment. So I haven't signed it yet, but you better believe I'm going to, because, yeah, totally. We're hearing all about, this kind of irritates me. There's a lot of social pressure, and it's always by people who are in a situation where they don't have to worry about finances, right? A lot of social pressure of people stay home, and it's the right thing to do, and if you're not part of the solution by staying home, you're part of the problem. Well, you know what? When you pay my bills, you can tell me to stay home. You can't, actually, but I would be more prone to listen to you at that point. Okay, so, right, that article talking about a lot of rideshare drivers trying to file for unemployment, and they're getting blocked out. Now, the stimulus bill that's going on in the White House in D.C. that they're trying to pass, that as of last night, March 24th, they were close to, now March 25th, it's like, well, maybe. I just read an article, I think from the Washington Post, that there's maybe some snags. I'm actually kind of a good person to relay this information in the sense that I'm a registered independent, so I'm not Democratic, I'm not Republican, I'm unbiased. I like to look at issues, and I like to form my opinion based around that. So I'm just going to give you my unbiased opinion on what's going on. So there were a lot of things put forward, a lot of different ideas or suggestions on what to, and I'm only going to talk about the stuff that pertains to us. So there were a lot of different suggestions put forward on what to pay Americans, send them direct checks, right? So we saw all sorts of different things. So at first, it wasn't great because it was $1,200, right, every American, but if you made less than so much, it went down to $600. Now, this comes into play with a lot of gig workers, is that we have our income, right, but we have a lot of tax write-offs. You write off all those taxes, it makes your adjusted gross income much lower, and for me, and they're going off 2018 taxes. So for me, the initial bill put forth would have dropped me down from $1,200 stimulus check to $600. So that sucked. Luckily, that one didn't pass. So that works out in my favor, probably a lot of yours. Now the snag that's happening. So the deal is the Democrats came back with a bill. It's $1,200 across the board to every American. So each and every one of you, as long as you have a social security number, and then once you go over $75,000 a year in earnings, then it starts to go down progressively. This video is not for you anyway if you're making over $75,000 a year. So anyway, for most Americans, especially in the rideshare community, we're going to be secure if this bill passes with a $1,200 stimulus check. So that's good. That's something we can look forward to. Again, knock on wood, this passes. What else? Oh, $500 per child that you have as well. Something else to keep in mind. So that's helpful. Is it super helpful? Maybe for 1 month it's helpful. So if this goes on for a long time, which a lot of experts suggest that it will, then, well, we're going to keep making videos, basically, because who knows what's going to happen next. But as of right now, this is what's important. Now, also, what's important is that among this stimulus bill, there's also a giant chunk, and I can't remember, sorry, I should have written it down. I don't have the dollar amount. Huge chunk, billions of dollars, hundreds of billions, I believe. I want to say 350 billion, something like that. Do not quote me on that. That is going to be going towards unemployment insurance wages. And it's also set to expand for the gig economy, for gig workers. And direct quote was talking about Uber and Lyft drivers amongst other gig economy workers. So that's good to hear. Now, the issue is a couple of things. Logistically, what does that look like? Let's say this passes and that money is there. Right now, I can tell you this. I have a lot of friends that are going through the process of filing for unemployment who are W-2 workers, where it should be a pretty, smooth thing. And it's a nightmare. The websites they're backed up and it's taking forever. And I've got a buddy who's been calling and calling for weeks on end, and he's basically getting the runaround. So, good news is, if this bill passes, then there's a big chunk of money, and it should put gig economy workers under the umbrella of unemployment beneficiaries. Hopefully that happens. Now, the second part of that is, if that does happen, what are the logistics of that going to look like, and how are they going to determine how much you get, etc.? So, we don't know that. We don't have those answers. But I just wanted to update you guys with where things are at right now, so kind of to keep you in the loop. And if there was ever a time that you were going to pay attention to the news, do some reading on articles of what's going on, pay attention to the stimulus bill. That directly affects each and every one of you. And if you can find any information as it pertains to rideshare drivers becoming eligible for unemployment benefits, obviously that behooves us all as well to pay attention to that. So, Jacob Letman here, the Rideshare Hub. Let us know your thoughts, feedback, all that good stuff. Get at us in the comment section below. We're here for you guys. We're going to keep trying to bring you the most up-to-date and important information as is applicable to the rideshare community, to each and every one of us. So, that's what I got for you guys. Until the next time, stay safe out there, everyone.